Hello, good afternoon and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another round of absolutely incredibly fast-paced racing action in the one and only Middle of the Pack Racing League, falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024, as brought to you on the Premier Sim Racing platform, available only on PC known as iRacing, and sponsored by a parody sponsor, the Dentistry World Conference Tour for 2024. This is the series that sees our drivers pitted against one another in the LMP3 machine, known as the Legia PS320. Powered by 5.6 litre V8 Nissan engine, it is a machine which sees many start their real-life and simulated motorsporting career if they're looking to get into prototypes. With its large amount of downforce, limited electronics and fast roaring engine, it is a car like no other when it comes to being absolutely fully committed to attacking each and every corner. And as we make our way into our third round of the championship campaign, we've got a circuit that requires commitment like no other. It's in Italy, and of course it is the one and only Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari. Also known as the Imola circuit in reference to a local Italian town, it is a circuit that's been the site of many a tragedy and also many a triumph over the course of its motorsporting history, whether it be the infamous 1994 San Marino Grand Prix, or alternatively the footfalls and indeed the footsteps of one Fernando Alonso's triumphs over Michael Schumacher as he went on his way over the course of the 2005 Formula 1 campaign to finally strike back against the seven-time world champion and take a championship of his own. But whether we celebrate the history of this circuit today or indeed in the future, one thing that we do come to in the present is the celebration of our driver achievements here today as we take a look back at all the racing actions as if it were live from round 3 of the championship. Indeed, this race had occurred as of early this week on what was none other than Wednesday the 18th of September. Well, today here on Saturday the 21st of September 2024, we're bringing you all that racing action from circuit side, and we welcome you all to this live broadcast. Now, you can be tuned in via one or two media platforms for your viewing pleasure today. You could be tune in firstly via YouTube at youtube.com and search for TX141TX, all 30 Paul Walsh, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via YouTube. Or you could be tuning in via Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141, and welcome to you guys and girls tuning in via Twitch, including their Ruby Scrim 59 and also at GT Eddie, amongst others. But regardless of which platform you're tuning in via, you may be asking right now, who is TX141 or who is Paul Walsh? Well, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Briton a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And I'll be your host and commentator for the entirety of this season. And as we get set and ready to go racing today, we've only got one race on our schedule for round number 3, and time's in British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinate Time +1 at UTC +1. And as we can see, we've got our 40-minute sprint race due to commence at approximately 5:15 this afternoon. And we'll overdrive all the way itching to go all in on this one. In the fact, rounds 1 and 2 have been absolutely splendid with the racing action coming thick and fast, and we carried on that theme at Motorland Aragon last week, but we'll bring you up to speed and where the championship stands shortly. Because first, as always, we need to give you a recap of the season calendar thus far in terms of what we completed and what's still lying in wait. And as we can see, we started off all the way back on the 4th of September at the one and only infamous Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And there we got underway with an absolutely flying start with many of our newcomers to the grid in Middle of the Pack Racing League Series, enjoying some absolutely brilliant racing action, no doubt about it there. And we got to see many of them make a big name for themselves, whether it be in the Pro, the Prime or the AM classes. Wind forward a week to 11th September in Spain at Motorland Aragon, a circuit more known for racing on 2 wheels than it is on 4 wheels. Well, there we got to see why exactly it's an underestimated circuit when it comes to racing on 4 wheels, with many of our drivers putting on an absolutely splendid show. But the one perhaps most notably, of course, in the Pro class, our dominant winner in the end, Jaden Calloway, who ran away to victory 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field. However, it wasn't to say there were not also spectacles in the Prime or the AM classes, with Matthew Quinton and also Shaji Zuhair both taking the spotlight to a degree. But after that, of course, we are here today for round number 3 at the Imola circuit as we continue the championship campaign. In a week's time, we'll be wrapping up the Stage 1 Cup with a visit to France, the one and only Circuit de la Sarthe, or the Le Mans circuit as it's more appropriately known perhaps, in reference to the local town, the 24-hour of Le Mans that takes place each and every year at the circuit. And that'll be on the 25th of September for our first feature race round of the season. And now the rules and regulations differ for what is round number 4 and also round number 8 will come on to in a week's time. Then we'll have our mid-season break before returning for the Stage 2 Cup, which will get underway on the 9th of October at the Brazilian circuit of Interlagos. And that'll be the first of 3 sprint races in the Stage 2 Cup, followed up by the Circuit of the Americas in the US state of Texas on the 16th of October. And then our final sprint race round and our penultimate round of the season will be round number 7 at the Fuji International Speedway in Japan on the 23rd of October. And then we bring it all to a close at the Portimao circuit, or the Circuit del Algarve on what will be the 30th of October in our second and final feature race round of the season. So still plenty to go, plenty of prizes on offer, and whilst we're nearing the end of the Stage 1 Cup and the prizes that come there, moving into the second half of the Cup today, indeed we still got 6 rounds of racing ahead of us. But going into our third round of the season, let's bring you up to speed now with the championship standings, and we start off with the Drivers' Championships, and in particular what is there none other than the Pro Class Drivers' Championship. And it's Jaden Calloway who, after that absolutely incredible victory, having started from P2, being pipped to pole by Jason Delano, but not giving in at the start of the race and not giving a yard since taking the lead, well, he's moved into the lead of the championship by 6 points over James Logsdon. Eric Nickens sits in P3, only a further 4 points behind, and it's a single point to David Adeyi in P4. And what we can see there is that Eric Nickens right now, well, whilst he may be relatively raw in the world of the MPRL, he's definitely making himself felt amongst the veterans in the Pro Class. The same for David Adeyi, having been promoted to the Pro Class at the start of this season, really established himself as well the contenders of the season, with Tanner Dibble meanwhile in P5 for DNA Motorsports, and more needs to be done in order to keep him well in touch in terms of leader. Jordan Butler, his teammate, sits a further 9 points behind it in P6. In fact, that's 11 points there. Let's do our mathematics correctly. And it's Dominique Ford ahead of Edwin Offrey, with Christian De Soto and Julian Jones completing the top 10. Carl Ranieri sits P11, and it's Jason Landry with 20 points after that difficult end to his race at Motorland Aragon, who brings up the rear having missed the season opener. We then come to the Prime class, and here we can see the complexion is a little bit different. A single point separates Matthew Quinton and Justin Delano. Quinton being the class winner last time out at Motorland Aragon, and therefore shuffling the standings and moving into that lead, but Delano staying close. Garrett Chavez a further 7 points behind and joint on 62 points with Wesley Griffith. However, Chavez, who's ahead of Griffith based on result countback. Tom Bryce sits in P5, not to be underestimated, on 55 points, 3 clear of Mark Senegal, with Justin Braggart a further point behind in P7. And it's Nick Bader, Jermaine Warren and Aaron Lara complete the top 10, with Jacob Wally in P11 and Matt Best yet to find his feet in this championship campaign, sitting P12 with 13 points. And then comes the AM class, but last but no means least, and as we can see here, Shaji Zuhair leading still. He may not have taken victory in the AM class last time out at Motorland Aragon, but did take a second place finish in the class, and therefore right now his victory in the season opener combined with that second place means that he is establishing himself as an early favourite. Eva Rolf sits in P2 on 67 points. Well, a bit of fortune came his way last time out. No doubt about it, taking the win at Motorland Aragon and finishing inside what's the top 8 of the overall standings. But for Rolf, he's going to take it one race at a time. And he's 3 points clear of Joseph Blamel, who right now on 64 points really denotes a noticeable gap to the rest of the AM field. And that gap being the best part of 17 points to Braden Mellin, with Glenn Bratton round off the top 5 a further point behind. S. Edward Irvin sits in P6 ahead of Alexander Frizzalone, and then we do have Aaron Tigger ahead of Navra Kumar, and then it's Tim Chong who rounds off the top 10 on 28 points, 3 clear of Roger Ganesh, and it's Carl Peterson, Todd Miller and Kurt Smith who complete the championship standings. Then going on to the Teams Championship, and here we can see ITT West lead the way by what is the best part there of 29 points over Photo Clan. Behind them at DNA Motorsports a further 7 points behind, and there's Eclipse Race at Esports by Skyline Designs who sit a further 3 adrift, and it's in a further 3 even more so to Team Bear Pope, but the battle for the P3 spot getting ever closer to what is that P2 fight, and therefore right now IT West could be on for a run where they could break away from the rest of the field. But will they be able to do so, given us some big names further down the order who've yet to hit their stride, including ITT West JMT and also Kinda Fast Racing Team. The new kids on the block Kinda Fast Racing Team, but they've been enjoying their racing so far, and I can tell you one thing, right now they're looking to try and break into that top 5 as soon as possible. Sunday GT Turtles yet as well to be able to find the big score, and they are ahead of middle of the pack racing by the best part there of 8 points, with Vice Motorsports completing your top 10 on 67 points. Caboose Crew set a further 27 afield with Breakfast for Dinner hot on their heels, and then Slipstream Sloths at the second breakfast to complete the team's championship standings. But let's come from our standings to our circuit for today, and our host circuit, of course, is located in the town of Imola in the Emilia-Romagna region of Italy. It is known in full as the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, or just known colloquially as the Imola circuit. And thank you to iRacing.com for that absolutely brilliant simulator service, and also on top of that the fantastic track maps that come with it. And this circuit has evolved many a time over the course of its extensive 50-plus year history, and today is a circuit known for stop-start style racing, with its combination of chicanes, hairpins and extended straights mean that a braking zone is never too far away, but also there's a long run to each and every one of those heavy braking zones, and therefore it's about getting the best possible exit out of a given chicane or corner, as it is just as much about being late on the brakes into the next corner sequence. And that's why this is one of the fastest circuits on the European theatre when it comes to hard and intense racing. But as our drivers make their way around here today, indeed they'll find it is a bit of a slower circuit compared to its predecessor format. But what better way to bring the circuit to life other than bring you an onboard lap, and that onboard lap being provided of course by a defending pro champion from the Formula 4 series, and that being Jason Landry. So let's jump on board, and as he makes his way across the start finish line, he heads down towards turn number 1 and in towards the Tamburello chicane. Bring the car over to the right hand side and getting ready for his brake marker there just at the end of the escape barrier, braking 125 metres from corner apex. Left, right, left, he'll go flat out now through turn number 2 in towards 3. The upshift to 4th gear keeps the car to the right hand side to open up the Villeneuve chicane that's about to come his way. Braking up approximately 50 metres from corner apex, trail braking down to 4th, keeping it over to left, down to 3rd, and then immediately getting back on the throttle as he feels those bite up. Now heading in towards the Toaster hairpin and braking as late as he dares here. You can see there the car coming loose up the braking, down to 1st gear with a very aggressive set of downshifts. Now up the hill he goes in towards Piratella corner. It's a brief breather, but through the right and kink and then over the crest and immediately onto the brakes of the 50 metre board, down to 3rd gear, mounting the apex curve there, not taking too much apex to send the car too wide, but gets it just right. Now down to Minerale, where here it's all about balancing the car as you come through the right and kink and then hard onto the brakes down to 2nd gear. Now right into left, making sure to mount that exit curbing in order to shorten the run up towards the Alta chicane. Now towards the braking zone for the low speed chicane, braking at the 50 metre board all the way down to 2nd gear, straight line the 2 apexes and immediately stamping the throttle back on, not just to settle the car down but also to power it out. Now he's only got 2 more corners to go as he makes his way downhill into the Ravazza complex. As he comes through the right and kink, he'll need to straighten the steering as quickly as possible. He goes onto the brakes, about 80 metres from corner apex into Ravazza 1, lets the car roll out wide to open up Ravazza 2, holds 2nd gear there, fighting with the steering wheel all the way through. And to the timeline, Landry will go to complete our reference lap and an absolutely clinical lap with it. Thank you to Mr. Landry. As he heads across the timeline, let's take some time to talk about those race rules. Of course, we can't go racing without them. And as we can see here, in terms of setup, drivers are running a fixed setup as provided by the Middle of the Pack Racing League, with fuel loads restricted to 50 litres. And in terms of the races in general, for our sprint races, well, they'll start via a rolling start, as is the rule set tradition, and the driver shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points. The grid order shall be set based on a closed qualifying session, which has commenced just before the race. In fact, it's going on right now, albeit we won't be presenting it to you for the purposes of this broadcast. We will skip past it. Each driver has 1 fast repair available, which should they need to take any repair work at any point in the race, and the safety car shall not be deployed at any point during the race. Indeed, if our drivers do end up in a major incident, we won't see safety cars called out. Indeed, they'll have to respect the yellow flags and at their discretion avoid any major incidents from scuppering their race. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that's enough rules, regulation, everything in between. We do head back to circuit side here, and well, let's take you through the grid for our one and only race today. And as we can see, Edwin Offra has taken pole position, the privateer, on a 38.842 ahead of fellow pro driver ITD West David Adeyiyi. We then have Christian De Soto, who lines up on the 2nd row of the grid for Kind of Fast Racing Team. 4 attempts off of the pole sitter, but still the best part there, with 600s faster. The newcomer to the grid today, and that being the Brazilian driver of Caio Moraes, who starts P4. Congratulations to him on his debut. That's a solid qualifying performance, no doubt about it. James Logsdon starts P5 for Team Bear Pope ahead of Shaji Zuhair, the ITT West JMT driver there in the AM class, and your AM Championship leader takes P6 on this grid. That's a stellar lap from the AM pole sitter, and I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps he's being looked at for a class change going into round number 4, as that's when we will see the classes change before the first feature race round of the season. Tanner Dibble, we started P7 for DNA Motorsports ahead of Second Breakfast John Lauzon, and your top 10 is going to be rounded out by the leading 2 Pram drivers, Pram pole sitter Matt Best for Second Breakfast, and Justin Brangham for Middle of the Pack Racing. We'll have behind them, just outside the top 10, Jake Gertson by what is a further 3 thousandths I should say, and well, there'll be Ethan at Rolf, who starts P12 for Vice Motorsports, and then outside of row number 6, coming on to row number 7, it's Wesley Griffith for Photan Clan ahead of Jordan Butler for DNA Motorsports, and then we have Tom Bryce for ITT West JMT, just pipping Sunday GT Turtles Mark Senegal to P15, with a Canadian driver started P16, but not too far out of the hunt. And Jesse Jamison Jr. starts P17 for Photan Clan ahead of Jacob Wally for Breakfast for Dinner, with your top 20 being completed by Eric Nickens for Photan Clan and Carl Peterson for Caboose Crew. Roger Ganesh starts P21 for Sunday GT Turtles ahead of Aaron Diggett for Team Bareboat. Braden Mellin starts P23 for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, and he's got the company of Nick Bader starting P24. And then we do see behind them on row at number 13, Jermaine Moore of Middle of the Pack Racing ahead of Jason in the Privateer. Where Garrett Chavez started P27 for Kinda Fast Racing Team ahead of Glenn at Briton. Jason Landry for Sunday GT Turtles starts P29, difficult qualifying session for him once again ahead of Jaden Calloway for ITD West. Matthew Quinton and Carl Ranieri will line up on row number 16 ahead of Julian Jones for ITD West JMT and Justin Delano for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs. And then it's Joseph Blumel and S. Edward Irvin on the penultimate row of the grid, with Todd Miller and Alexander Frizzalone completing the final row of the grid there, P37, P38. But with the grid hand made its way through Aqua Minerale already, and indeed right now on its partial formation lap. We're not too far away from going green flag racing. And as we can see there, the safety car moving along at its steady pace at the moment. But very shortly we will be going green flag, and when we do, it is going to be an incredible, what will be 40 minutes of racing here at the Imola circuit. And all the drivers absolutely itching to go racing, of course. Normally the home to the 6 hours of Imola in the World Endurance Championship Series, the WEC Series, the FI WEC. And well, Edwin Offred is going to be the one to see if he can light the wick in order to get away in a stellar form. But he's got David Adeyi for immediate company alongside. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is about to go green flag as they make the way down. But it'll be an Offred who dictates when exactly we do go racing. And well, without further ado, it's time for round number 3. And it's lights out, away we go for the 3rd time this season as Onofre leaves it to the last possible moment to go green. And understandably why it's a long run down towards Tamburello chicane as they head into the braking zone. There's already been drama further back. That's a car going wayward there, and I believe that's the car of Eric Nickens that's been turned around and pointed in the wrong direction. Albeit he's been able to avoid the majority of the field in doing so. But Onofre's nailed that race start as a result as they all make their way now down towards Villeneuve for the first time of asking. And as they do, Wadi immediately under pressure from James Logsdon, Christian De Soto, as further back, Shaji Zuhair has had a poor start, dropped back 2 places versus the prime peers behind him, Matt Best and Jed Gertsen. Meanwhile, Wesley Griffith having an absolutely abysmal start and falling back to P10, not quite able to stay in that hunt with his 2 rivals in front. Although I say that Griffith actually gaining a place in class and a couple overall, so therefore I made to mark my manners as they make their way onwards and upwards. But breakfast for dinner's Jacob Wally there, also gaining a couple of places in this race start, but immediately now trying to put the pressure on Ethan Rolfe as he looks to go around the outside into Aqua Minerale. Hard on the brakes they go, and in the end, well, there's only one way through there, and Ethan Rolfe will dictate who exactly will take that way through, and it is going to be the AM driver before the prime as they make the way up the rise towards the Alton chicane. But as they head in towards the braking zone and on to the anchors once more, when it's line astern between them all for now, no change. And that's the thing about this Imola circuit, you need to make moves quickly, because once everyone's up to speed, everyone can start to break up into very secluded packs. And well, John Lauzon making a move on Glenn Bratton as Bratton goes very deep there to the Alton chicane. That's going to enable Frizzalone to go around the outside of quarter exit as they come down. You can see there now Bratton's got Nickens, Miller and Quinton all for company as they make the way on down the drop into the Ratza 1. Very late break in there, that's an error, and that is going to be Matthew Quinton, who I think having to lift off the brakes after risking locking up, not expecting Bratton to go so slowly on the inside line. And well, the Briton there avoiding a massive calamity, but in the end having to take to the grass in order to do so. But after 1 lap of racing, it's an Onofre leading ahead of Adeyi, followed by Logsdon, and then we have Dibble. Well, no, in fact we have De Soto. Then we have Dibble in P5 ahead of Morales in P6, and then we have your prime leader of Best at P7 for second breakfast. P8 is your prime leader Shaji Zuhair, and then we have Wesley Griffith and Justin Braggett completing your top 10 with Tom Bryce just a little bit further back in P11 as they make the way through lap number 2. As they roll their way on around here, we can already see how the leading Pro Pack of 6 cars are starting to rip and tear their way away. And meanwhile, the primes and pro and ascendees, the AMs if you will, they're all sitting behind right now, waiting for an opportunity to try and go the offensive as quickly as possible here as they head down towards Aqua Minerale once again, but no change it would seem at this time. Meanwhile, looking back to Ethan Rolfe, we did have Jacob Wally putting a lot of pressure on him. Wally did get past on the start-finish straight going down towards Tamburello, so now Braden Melling will be looking for an opportunity to try and make a move here versus the Englishman. But as they head in towards the braking zone for the Alton chicane, once again, no change this time, a very Oriente Alta, and indeed it stays as is, though Rolf goes very wide. That's going to be classified as an off-track, surely, for going beyond the runoff curbing, and therefore that is going to be something over in the back of his mind. He'll lose an X, which he will potentially have wanted to use a little bit later on, those tactical off-tracks as they call them, where sometimes you can run a little bit wide to gain some extra time, so long as you've got the instant points available to do so. As they come on through Ravatsa to a bit of a poor run there from Wally. That's bringing Rolf right back into contention here as they head down the start finish straight. Remembering, of course, these LMP3 cars do pick up quite a tow, and well, here's an example of where they're picking up that tow as we ride aboard looking back from the rear of Votan Claire's Wesley Griffin as he tries to hold it to P9. Now it's going to be Bragan looking around the outside. Too wide they go into Tamburello, too wide they exit the second part of the chicane, but in the end it will be Bragan who gets ahead for now. As we had seen, meanwhile, Bryce looking at also capitalising. Griffith all out of sorts, has not got the momentum anymore, and Tom Bryce being very tactical, being very smart with the way he's making moves, and just capitalising on Bragan's adventures, and will Griffith lose in 2 places at the price of 1 chicane. As they come on around Fruitosa hairpin for Mark Senegal as well, now in the lime green machine, the Sunday GT Turtles car with its chrome filler as well. You can definitely see that car, the 127, distinctive in its livery, and well, as he makes his way up the rise now, he's got to try and find his way past Ethan Rolfe. Look at the inside of Piratella, won't find it. Meanwhile, Ganesh trying to fend off with Garrett Chavez here as they make the way on around. Jason Lynn picking his way past Jake Gertson in the rear of the picture there, but on the inside goes Chavez, and he makes quick work of Ganesh. There as meanwhile, that is Rolfe and Senegal having a bit of a coming together, and I suspect there too tried to go into one at Minerale, albeit won't quite be able to get the replay of what happened, but you can get the gist that the two of them had a little bit of an altercation, and well, as they now bring themselves back up to speed, well, the Vice Motorsports driver, I think he'll be wondering if there's any damage to the car, and if so, can he carry on, or does he need to come into the pits? Because it's too early to come into the pits and use that as your fuel pit stop, given the fact those 50 litres will go quite some distance, but they can't go what would be the best time when the fuel tank is refueled, the best part of 45 minutes of this race. And as they come then to the braking zone here, we can see how the mid-pack is all stacking back together, and well, we've had 38 starters to this race, 2 of which did not actually make it onto the grid. Carl Ranieri and Jason Landry, so therefore 36 runners at this time, but at the moment all of our 36 runners are still in this race. But meanwhile, we look back to James Logsdon, who has got himself ahead of David Adeyemi. Adeyemi having a poor run coming out of the Tamburello chicane, so the battle for P2 now, slipping away from the lead. Edwin Offrey, you can see there, just making his way up into Tosa, now the best part, 1.4 seconds clear as they exit the hairpin, and now Logsdon is going to have Adeyemi and De Soto right behind for company all the way up the rise as we ride on board here with the kind of fast racing team driver in the 59. And when I had the chance to catch up with him in the build up to this round, he was saying to me about the fact that the team as a whole, the mood in the kind of fast racing team camp has been very positive since their debut in this series, indeed their first ever middle of the pack racing league series, for the simple reason that they've been finding themselves competitive across both pro and pro-am. And well, for himself personally, he's absolutely excited to be coming back week in, week out, and pushing himself to the absolute limit, and right now doing everything he can here to try and hunt down that podium, but running a little bit wide there. In fact, all 3 drivers doing so. I think they'll all try to absolutely push it to the limit here as they come down in towards Ravazza, and well, off camera we've had a bit of an altercation between multiple drivers, including Alexander Frizzalone and also S. Edward Irving, and I do believe Eric Nickens. They've all had a bit of a coming together off camera, and Nick Bader's just been involved in a separate incident, I believe, as we stay with these leaders for just a little bit further, heading down towards Tamburello this time for what will be the 5th time of asking. Can De Soto find a way through here? As Adeyemi, he's thinking about it, is the ITD West driver. He's thinking about where to position the car. De Soto in the end's going to go to the inside, but too far back, and on the brakes it's just not going to be enough. They stay as is. Meanwhile, looking back to Edward Irving, a driver who has lost multiple places quite recently, he's now looking to try and gain some more places. He chases after Jermaine Warren and the middle of the pack racing driver in front as we see a car peeling off into the pit lane. That's Joseph Blomel, and Irving's also into the pit. So I think whatever incident they were in, where it's definitely damaged the car to the point whereby they don't feel happy to carry on driving the car right now, or they might be seeing what we call the meatball flag, or the car standards infringement flag. That's the orange circle with the black mark around it, and well, that means they need to come into the pits and get repair work done to the car within 3 laps. But as we do see our drivers make the way down the pit lane, well, that's going to force them onto a 2-stop strategy for today, unless they can could do a huge amount of fuel saving. Well, meanwhile, Glenn Briton here battling us a bit off in the distance. That is Eric Nickens, who's gone round again. Well, it does not seem to be a happy day here. What is the Imola circuit? Missed the rear wing. Oh, goodness me. And that is Aaron Tiggott, who's decided to go deep into the gravel, and in the process has parked himself right next to Nickens' car. Nickens being very polite. They've been a bit of a gentleman and saying to Aaron, well, look, I don't want to be here, but I'll move out your way for you. As he gets himself up to speed. And Tiggott there, I think his whole motorsporting career just appeared in front of his eyes for a brief moment as he wondered whether he's going to become part of the Photon Clan drivers' stricken ruins. As they make the way up the rise, will both drivers get themselves back up to speed, and the American right now I think will be feeling a degree of frustration because this race is going from good to bad to worse, and that lack of rear wing and the damage he's picked up, kicking the car around there once again. I think for Nickens right now he's just going to try and limp this car along as far as he can and just try to get it to the pits, but I suspect the steering wheel damage on that car, well, if there is any, is only going to be compounded his woes. Meanwhile, coming back to your prime leader, P7, this is Matt Best, under pressure from Saji Zuhair as they make the way up towards what will be Villeneuve, and well, as they do, it is the battle right now of the two secondary classes leaders. But the interesting thing here in the fact that Zuhair right now, you could argue, is really demonstrating he doesn't just want to be the AM class leader. He wants to also be leading the Pro-Am as much as possible, and well, I think Best right now will be looking behind him and thinking to himself, well, given the fact how close he is, surely this man is going to be in Pro-Am. Well, we'll have to wait to see what happens going into round number 4, as that's when the class changes may occur. But right now, Zuhair absolutely putting on a stellar hunt here, and Best will absolutely nails it through Piratella, and Zuhair makes a small error there, taking too much apex curve. You can see how it caused the car to become unsettled, but look at that, under rotation and braking into Minerale. Zuhair flying, flashing his lights there. I think trying to get to Best's head, and Matt Best right now definitely not in a happy place in terms of the pressure that is being exacerbated upon him as they make the way through Alta. And again, Zuhair getting so close and looking for that opportunity to make his way on the inside. As they come down the drop towards Ravazza, will there be a move here? Well, surely Zuhair's got to be thinking about it, albeit Best there better on the brakes. But if he can't get it here, he'll definitely look for the move in the run down towards Tamburello for the simple reasons. We've reached the end of the first quarter of this race. Zuhair so closely glued to the back of the 101, and well, looking to try and make quick work with him at the moment and trying to go hunting potentially after the top 6. That top 6, of course, being the best part 4.5 seconds up the road. Next driver being none other than Caio Moraes, and here comes Zuhair looking around the outside in towards Tamburello. It'll be the outside to inside. Best in the end. Well, I think checks up a little bit earlier than Norman. I think decides to let Zuhair go here initially and try and come back on the exit using the momentum. It's a clever strategy from Best. It's going to put him on the outside into Villeneuve, but in the end Zuhair covers off that inside and opens up a couple more attempts initially, but takes too much curb, sends the car wide, and as they head in towards Tosa, Best is now going to try and go around the outside. I think right now he's trying to prove a point to Zuhair, which is, look, you may be the faster driver through most of the lap, but I don't need to be as fast as you to stay ahead of you. I've just got to be smart with the car. And as they come in towards Piratella, well, Zuhair falls back in, and Best doing brilliantly to fend off the AM driver right now. But I wonder whether Zuhair's going to stay behind him for long or whether he'll look for another opportunity. Meanwhile, looking a bit further back, this is Alexander Fresel on the 274, looking to go on the offensive versus Jesse Jameson Jr. They're fighting over P5 in the AM class, and what is equivalent to P24 overall at this time. Remember, of course, the first place world drive score points into that overall finishing position, and then the second priority is in terms of whether you're on the podium in the prime and the AM classes. But hold the fort there as Tanner Dibble has had a spin at the Alta chicane. He's brought it back together, but the car's gone round as I'm hearing in my ear, and well, for Dibble, I believe that was of his own volition. Meanwhile, speaking of own volition, Zuhair coming back at the what is second breakfast Best, and well, side by side they go on the exit there of Ravazza too, and well, these two showing great racing respect. But look behind, you'll see Justin Braggart and Tom Bryce are being brought into this. So their fighting is proving very costly. I mean, here as spectators, we love to see this, but surely both drivers must be thinking that the other should give way now, so that way they're not being caught up by the drivers behind, and Zuhair falls back behind. It's Best there shows that he can put that LMP3 up on 2 wheels for a brief period of time, but as they make the way on through and upwards they'll go towards what will be Villeneuve. Well, here they come, and looking behind Braggart trying to get involved there. Well, Best holds on for now, and he's absolutely doing everything he can here, and I can imagine the tyres on that LMP3 are going to be feeling a lot more wear than they would normally at this point in the race. Given how hard he's having to defend as Ahead looks to go around the outside. Briton now waiting, looking in the wings, thinking about where can he go for that potential move as we ride on board the front nose cone of the 171, and as they head in towards Piratella, Zaher goes around the outside, and I think that's going to be the move made for P6 for now, as Best there gets caught up on the apex curve. He's not got the momentum at this time as the sparks fly as he comes bouncing down off of the apex of that Quinton, and there's the move made. Zaher has moved into P6, and now Best, who is still your prime leader for all of this, will Briton at P2 prime driver now has an opportunity to try and take the lead of the prime class as they come off of the auto chicane. As they build up speed and head down towards the rat, so you could see there Briton taking his time, knowing that he needs to place the car correctly, and behind Tom Bryce under pressure from Jordan Butler, the DNA Motorsports driver, moving into the top 10 and now up into P9, as that is Justin Briton, who's had a lock up down to Ravat, so he's caught the car in its slide, but in the middle of the pack racing drivers had it all go the wrong way, and indeed not in the right direction. He falls outside the top 10, and that promotes Wesley Griffith up into P3 in what is the prime class, and Tom Bryce up into P2 in the class, and Matt Best right now is absolutely breathing a sigh of relief, I would imagine, from the fact that he's been able to withstand increased pressure. But speaking of pressure, it comes in many forms, including at the very front of the field, and Edwin Offred is not breaking away. And as they make the way out to Tosa Corner, what you can see here is the fact this top three continues to stand 1.1 seconds separated in totality between Offred, Logsdon and Adeyeye as they come in towards Piratella for the 9th time. But with 14 minutes on the clock and still plenty to come, well, those pit stops, they won't be coming just yet in terms of taking the one and only pit stop of the day. But I think our drivers will be wondering whether it's the undercut that's worth more than the overcut, given the pit window normally opens around the 16th to 17th minute mark at the earliest and can run all the way up to approximately the 40th minute, depending on the circuit and how much fuel saving is being applied. But Offred finding himself in quite an infrequently populated position in terms of his middle of the pack racing league career, in the fact this is going to be one of only, if I remember correctly, over the course of the last 3 years of racing, dated all the way back to the original touring car racing series of the TCRs of 2022. I believe that this is the 6th race in his history in the middle of the pack racing league where he has been leading from the front since the start, and right now trying to hold on. And well, the American driver here looking to go for an uncommon but what would be an absolutely spectacular win if he is able to fend off the charge of Logsdon, Adeyeye and De Soto all the way to the checker flag. As he comes down in towards Tamburello, or Adeyeye once again now on the back of Logsdon. So these two return into their battling ways as Jacob Wally into the pit lane, also Tandil Dibble in. So I think we are starting to see the opening of that pit window. And keep in mind, of course, that this Imola circuit quite aggressive on track limits, so I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see the risk of 1 or 2 drive-through penalties being applied before today is all said and done. And we did see that late on at Motorland Aragon last week, where 2 drivers had to come into the pits literally on the final lap, and well, by taking their drive-through penalty post-race by coming into the pits right at the end, it did put them to the bottom of what was the current finishing lap, and therefore cost them plenty of places. So all that is still to be deciphered here, and I do once again just imagine that some drivers right now be very cognizant of the fact they could be at risk of losing that in the long haul when it does come to what is those track limits and that drive-through penalty towards the end. We did have an off there for James Logsdon going through Piratella, as our focus was on Nick Bader for a brief moment, and well, Adeyeye, they're having a lot of power oversteer as he exited the auto chicane. And as they come down, Bader stepping aside there under blue flags, but Logsdon right now, as he brings his way down to the braking zone here, well, the Bearpo driver putting incredible pressure on to Adeyeye. As you can see, Briton steering clear, De Soto also staying right behind him as they make the way down the start-finish straight. And we'll nose to tail they go once again, as Bader battling in the rear of the picture with what is Briton, but we stay focused on that fight for P2 overall, as they roll their way underneath the gantry board. And well, Adeyeye goes defensive here, and Offred's now 2.1 seconds clear. Traffic playing a key part in bringing these 3 back together and separating the leader from them, but that's how traffic works in this race, and it could work to your advantage, it could also work against you. And well, as they head down in towards Villeneuve, nothing between the trio, and well, meanwhile, Caio Moraes a bit further back here, and well, the all black and red machine, the dark side machine right now, definitely having a bit of a dark aura about it, but positive one at that, as the AT P88 hold on to P5, and on his debut, I think that is definitely going to be a huge result, no doubt about it. But meanwhile, here comes what is now De Soto looking up the inside versus Logsdon in towards Piratella. Classic move there on the inside, but Logsdon not fighting it too hard. And what I think of the mindset that they can't let Adii get away, and Adii already putting 1.1 seconds over the pair as they head out of Aquinarale this time. And we're almost at the halfway point of this race, and it is a further, what is 1.8 seconds to Edwin Offred, the race leader. So therefore, I think Logsdon right now of that mindset of we need to calm this down. We've got to get back towards the leaders, because if not, we're suddenly going to be fighting over P3, and that scraps compared to what could be if we fight for the win of this race, which is worth an absolutely mammoth 50 points. But to come on down in towards the braking zone, we'll have to wait and see whether the traditional enemy of my enemy is my friend style truce between these two, De Soto and Logsdon, last distance, or whether it's only temporary, and in the end they decide to go all out on each other as they head towards another lap. But as they do, we look to Tanner Dibble. Dibble being one of the drivers who did take an early pit stop, of course, much like Jacob Wally. And Wally came in ahead of Dibble, and that's how they've re-entered the circuit. And you can see Wally there just in front. So this is frustrating for the Dino Motorsports driver, in the fact I think he'll feel as though right now it has not worked out strategy-wise. He's got to try and get his way past as quickly as possible. As we do say hello in the YouTube chat there to Zen, who is enjoying the racing, no doubt about it. But as they make the way on through the auto chicane, roaring the way onwards and up towards what will be Ravazza once again. No change at this time between them, but here comes Dibble. He's thinking about he's going to go all in on this, and Dibble needs this move, but while he turns in there, Dibble's still got a nose in as they enter Ravazza 2, and Dibble finally finds his way through. But Jacob Wally, to be fair, showing some great nuance in defending there and really forcing the pressure on Dibble, getting Dibble to either commit or back out, and that's not something you normally see in terms of a battle between a prime and a pro. But then again, remember, they can fight each other because it's all for the same pool of points here. There's no reason why a prime shouldn't fight a pro. And, well, Jacob Wally right now definitely shown that he's got a lot of knowledge behind that helmet in the 131 with regards to how to defend smartly. And, well, in the end, Dib will find his way through, but really having to dig deep in order to do so. As they come in towards the Villeneuve chicane, making the way on out and up towards Tosa. Meanwhile, we look back from what is these drivers to the AM group in here of Aaron Tigger, who's been on the offensive versus Carl Peterson, has been inching closer time and time again over the last couple of laps. And keeping in mind, of course, that these AM drivers yet to take a pit stop. The Team Bear Poke driver getting close, but still Peterson no slouch. Peterson hasn't been on the grid since our Formula 4s. The Caboose crew driver having some great results in the Formula 4s, albeit a different style machine he's running here, but the different style machine isn't stopping him from just grafting his way through in what is this P6 AM position at the time. Meanwhile, off camera, we can tell you that the new fastest lap overall this race has gone to Caio Moraes, who set 137.75 to the nearest 100th. And, well, that's a mistake there from Tigger, as meanwhile, make no mistake, back at the front of the field, this is De Soto versus Logsdon Adeyemi. We come to them at the prime time, and, well, after Adeyemi was running away, I suspect some traffic may have interfered, and, well, Adeyemi has lost out quite considerably. In fact, he's had an off track, and that's put Adeyemi to the back of this group. But De Soto right now trying to hold on for kind of fast racing team, and where he's kind of going to have to go a bit faster than that in order to be able to break away, no pun intended, because right now Logsdon and Adeyemi are absolutely glued to the back of him. Edwin Offred is now 3.3 seconds clear of this trio, and as I head onwards towards what we do to chicane, we are halfway through this race. We've still got 19 minutes plus the final lap to go, but right now this battle for P2 is taking centre stage at the front of the field, as we've got S. Edward Irving and Aaron Tigger into the pit lane. I suspect Tigger into the pits, given that run wide, which will most likely have bleached the tyres a little bit in terms of just scrubbed off some of the life and not what he wanted. So therefore he'll want to try and get them cooled down, and he'll bring them back into the ideal operate zone. But as they'll try to make the way at Ravazza 1 and Ravazza 2, you can see De Soto right now absolutely cool as a cucumber here, albeit I suspect it's nowhere near like that inside the car. But as he makes his way onwards towards another lap, just grafting lap after lap, Logsdon following him each and every time, and De Soto and Logsdon very similar style drivers in the fact they both seem to really pride themselves on setting up the long-term game here. And, well, Adeyemi will now need to try and find a short-term solution for what could be the long-term plans of his rivals. But they head in towards the next chicane coming up in towards Villeneuve. They've got the traffic of Roger Ganesh in front, P29, the Sunday GT Turtles AM driver. who makes his way up to speed. Blue flag's waving, and well, the top two of the pros in this battle will be let through. In fact, all three of them will, and well, lovely awareness there for Ganesh to let them all go, and nobody is impeded or cost any time whatsoever. As they head up the rise and in towards Piratella, we've got more pit stops playing out, including Zuhair, Gertsen, and also Lauzon all into the pit lane, and therefore all decided to get that pit stop done as soon as humanly possible. And well, I think also traffic perhaps becoming a bigger feature as there's a bit of contact from Adi to the rear of Logsdon, the break in there in towards Aqua Minerale's main right-hander. And well, now as the American brings itself back together, it's a small tap. It won't do too much damage to the car. I think there might have been a bit of a heart-in-mouth moment for the simple reason I think Adi feels like he can carry more speed into that chicane compared to his rivals, but in turn he's got to respect the pace of the drivers in front. And meanwhile, whilst they've been fighting, let's come back to this battle for P20 between Wally and Bragan. And well, Dibble did find his way past Wally. You'll remember that was into Ravazza 1 a few laps ago, but Jacob Wally right now had made his pit stop, and Bragan the same. Well, Bragan's come out right behind him, and these two absolutely fighting hard. And this is a P7 in the prime class, but keep in mind that we've still got pit stops to come from the likes of Jermaine Warren, Mark Senegal there, P16 and P14 respectively, and they could find themselves dropping in amongst this pair, if not behind. And indeed, it could be a battle here that the longer they take to decide who's going to be the winner of this battle, it could cost them the opportunity to take top 5 spots in the prime class in terms of where they sit in the overall standings. As they make the way up towards Alta, no change at the moment, staying exactly as is. And we can see Wally taking a lot more curve. In fact, that causes the car to go wide, and Bragan now, he'll let Wally rejoin, but Wally's going to lose some time here as he makes the rejoin. And Justin Bragan does take the position here, moves up to P20, just putting the pressure on, and Jacob Wally succumbing to the pressure. It's so easy to make a mistake, to be fair, at this similar circuit, regardless of the machine you're piloting, and even more so in these LMP3 machines. As Jason Lynn now in to the pit lane, and as Lynn makes his way down, he's going to relinquish a number of positions. He's going to fall outside of the top 3 in the AM class. We'll have to wait to see where exactly that puts him on his journey here in Italy. But looking back to Jermaine Moore in the middle of the pack, racing at driver in a very colourful car, no doubt about it. And what is the distinctive pink and purple liveried machine makes its way onwards towards Villeneuve. We do say hello there to Eclipse Racing Esports, who's here to cheer on Eclipse. And we're glad to have you with us, ERS. And well, good to see you in the YouTube chat there. Enjoy yourselves. And as we do have middle of the pack racing, still fending onto this P15 position versus what is the car of IT West, Shaji Zuhair. Well, Jermaine Warren right now, knowing that he's got to try and keep an absolute monster of a driver behind, a monster in a positive way, we should say, and the fact that Zuhair really has shown pace, not just to be leader in terms of championship, but also what is a top 10 setter performances so far this season, and he's looking to try and make another one here today. And well, with Warren yet to appear, you can imagine that Zuhair right now will be just trying to goad Warren into coming to the pit sooner rather than later in order to release him if he can't make the move on the circuit. But speaking of moves being made, well, here is one into the pit lane for James Logsdon from Team Bearpo, who misses pit box, goes a little bit too far forward. He does reverse back, and so that is going to cost him about a second's worth of time. And remember, he was in the battle with De Soto and Adeyiyi. Briton Mellin here under pressure from what is Calloway, as Calloway picks his way on through. Jaden Calloway having started all the way down in what was P30, and well, Calloway's up to P9, but do keep in mind, of course, he's yet to take his pit stop as he looks at the inside of Wesley Griffith. Mellin does the same as well, and well, don't make a mistake there as Griffith decides in the end to take plenty of apex curve, puts the car up on 2 wheels for a brief moment. How they survived that, I do not know, but that is great awareness from all drivers involved. And Wesley Griffith in the end will lose in places to Calloway and Melling, 2 drivers who've yet to pit like himself. He's got Garrett Chavez behind. I think Wesley Griffith pinning himself here to battling with the prime drivers as a priority. And a sensible approach, no doubt about it, for the Fotank Glen driver. And well, Chavez right now watching from behind and looking for an opportunity to try and attack once more as the kind of fast racing team driver in the 159. Well, he's been in a bit of a background position for the majority of this race, having started in what was P27. But as we ride on board here with the 159, you can definitely see how he's inching closer. And I think now getting ready to pit soon. He's on the attack and giving it everything here as he heads towards the end of his opening stint. as he powers his way down the lovely roar of that V8 engine. Of course, the onboard really bringing it to life. We can see there that is Miller, who is a lap down and right now trying to find a way in order to steer clear of everyone, as Chavez is going to take the natural outside line, and more traffic here causing a little bit of a problem for Griffith, and Chavez will get him through, and in the end that is going to be, I think it's a pit lane Wesley Griffith. So Griffith decides to go into the pits 9. He's been cost time on the exit there of Ravazza 2. That is a very smart tactical move there for the Fotang Clan driver, because it means he doesn't lose as much as he would if he carried on down towards what had been Tamburello chicane. So Wesley Griffith really thinking quick on his feet. Meanwhile, as we look here to your primer leader, Tom Bryce, well, Bryce is yet to pit. Matt Best has come into the pit lane by comparison, so therefore we'll have to wait to see where it's the right call from Best. The second breakfast drivers, ITT West JMT's Bryce does lead what will be Calloway on through, his fellow ITT West drivers. They swap the places. Both drivers yet to pit, and I think it's a sensible call here, given the fact they don't want to step on each other's toes, and they both had very different journeys in this race. Bryce having started from P15, meanwhile Calloway having started from P30, so therefore both drivers here are looking to make their own gains over this race distance. But Calloway, well, the stakes are higher, and keep in mind, of course, that Calloway, your absolutely dominant winner of the day at Motorland Aragon, well, it's not looking as though it's going to be a win today, but he's looking to limit the damage as much as he can. And, well, speaking of some damage to be done, well, we've got a battle in front of him in the form of Aaron Tigger versus Glenn Bratton. They're fighting over P33 a lap down, and Callaway's going to hope he can clear them without any damage to his pace. He does one immediately, but meanwhile into the pits comes your race leader overall of Edwin Offred. Christian De Soto also in, and also Caio Moraes, the debutant from Brazil today, and as he makes his way on down, keeping an eye on him as well. He may have something to say about being on that overall podium before this race is over, and this race is far from over, as we've still got the best part of just under a third of it, or just over a quarter to go, and Jesse Jemison Jr. now finding himself falling back to P19 as Jake Gertson looks to pull away just in the foreground. As our drivers continue to shuffle up and down the field, well, of course, the last of the pit stops now coming in to the sequence. Jesse Jemison Jr., I would believe, will be the last driver to come in and serve a pit stop, and it will likely be at the end of this lap, as we've already had Adi Calloway, Bryce, also Melling, Jones, Senegal, and Chavez all come in, and Jemison Jr. does peel on in, so that will be the end of the questions around when a driver's going to come into the pits. He locks up there, hitting the pit limiter line, but does stop in time, and at the front of the field, Edwin Offred, who did come into the pits with a 3.5 second advantage, his advantage has increased to 3.8 seconds, and then Offred right now looking to be in control at this time and looking to romp away in towards victory. But meanwhile, Christian De Soto in a comfortable P2 at this time, and 3.5 seconds behind the leader, but in turn 3 seconds clear of Caio Moraes, and Moraes here in this P3, the privateer, well, leaving that pit stop until late has worked out massively for him, and he's of course to bring home his first ever podium in his first ever Middle of the Pack Racing League race event. Well, that'll be a huge achievement, no doubt about it. Meanwhile, where it has not worked out for a number of drivers, Justin Braggon hold the fault there, as I think Braggon's had a bit of an incident at Tulsa Hairpin, where he speeds his way back up now towards Piratella. The car not looking damaged there, so I suspect he's just run wide or just simply coming a little bit too hot, and the rear has let go. But the middle of the pack Racing N car, they're in the colours of Hyundai Motorsport, I do believe, unless I'm very much mistaken. With Hyundai recently announced, of course, that their premium brand Genesis and will be collaborated in collaboration with them in the World Endurance Championship going forward in the coming years, which is great to see. And well, we do know there's going to be some sort of hypercar entry, and I wonder if there will be a GT3 entry to accompany it. Well, that's by the by. Let's stay here and the here and now, and as we continue to watch with Justin Braggon making his way on down towards Ravazza 1, the question we're coming back to, or the point we're coming back to, is that the early pit stop has not worked out for the likes of David Adeyeye. Alternatively, what has been at James Logsdon, albeit it's been worse for David Adeyeye, he's dropped all the way down to P8 overall, and well, for the ITT West driver, finding himself coming out in a lot of mixed strategy traffic. Well, in the end today, it was all about going long, it would seem, on the strategies. Now, Adeyeye and many others have got to find some way to work some magic here all the way to the end. And speaking of some magic, Jordan Butler's going to need some magic to keep Calloway behind, as Calloway looks to move on the inside, gets Butler to go very defensive into Villeneuve, and that is by design, because what you can see now is that Calloway can really start to play the mind games here. Is he going to attack around the outside of Toast? Is he going to cut back to the inside? Looks to do the cut back there, but Butler does park it on apex, but Calloway absolutely sniffing all over the rear of his rival as they head in towards Piratella. And as we ride on board here by the 72, looking back over its rear wing, we can see the Dino Motorsports car. It doesn't want to give in. Indeed, that's in the DNA of the Dino Motorsports team. They never give up. But the problem right now is that Jaden Calloway is an incredibly oppressive force on this circuit. And well, he's looking for an opportunity to move into P9 here. And the next target will be 3.3 seconds up the road of the former David Adeyemi, his teammate. And well, if Calloway can make that happen and continue to push himself into the top 10, that would be incredible form over the course of 40 minutes, no doubt about it. And coming on down then in towards Ravazza once again. 8 minutes still left on the clock, and will Calloway not able to find a way through at the moment. He'll be hoping for the better exit here. Going out Ravazza 2 gets exactly that, gains a 10th on the corner exit. He's got the toe here as they power their way up through the gearboxes, going up into top gear now. And as they do, well, it's going to be 2 attempts at the start-finish line. We're halfway down the stretch, and here comes Calloway. He's got the overspeed. Can he get fully alongside? He's going to try and go around the outside here. Butler will defend in towards Tamburello. 2 wide they go in, and Calloway from outside to inside makes the move count, moves up into P9, and Jordan Butler in the end threw everything at it to hold on, but it wasn't enough, and Calloway just finding a way to make progress. Meanwhile, speaking of drivers just behind them looking to exchange places and make progress, Jake Gertsen for Vice Motorsports trying to get ahead of Jacob Wally, and Wally right now, well, as you can see, these two have been locked into battle for some time. They're fighting over P2 in the Prime class and the right to be best arrested P11. But Wally, who already has had the lion's share of defensive work to do all day today, it doesn't matter whether it's been pros, AMs or primes around him, the breakfast for dinner driver really has been under pressure. He's not wilted at all, and that has been one thing that has really distinguished him in his class this season so far, is it doesn't matter what place it's for, he goes for it in terms of defending, does Wally, and well, he can make that LMP3 wider than an 18-wheeler, and as they make the way on through the Alta chicane, Gertsen's got to be ready for that for the simple reason we know Jake Gertsen can do some quite nifty attacking work, but he's going to be coming up against what is the immovable object, is the unstoppable force, and which one is going to win out? That is the age-old question. Coming on down in towards Raz. Oh, goodness me. And that is David Adeyemi, who's had a go-round or a spin round at Ravazza 1, aided by the gravel. And I wonder if he was helped on his journey into the gravel by anybody. But either way, the number 32 driver brings it back together now. And the ITT West car drops down. That behind him is Braden Melling, who is P2 in the AM class, with Shaji Zuhair along at the road in P6. Well, right now Melling in a very peaceful P2 in the class, but he wants some more places overall. He wants some more points as they make the way onwards towards another lap. I think Adeyemi's got himself back together just about. But speaking of AM class battles, we have got some more of those looking to appear on the horizon, including Carl Peterson and Roger Ganesh here. Ganesh being the attacker from P30 to take on P29's Peterson. And as they head in towards Acca Minerale, well, it has been at the 20th run through for them. No difference between the two, albeit Ganesh having a bit of a poor exit, and that's cost him some time. And I think Peterson right now, I think very happily just opening that gap up and nursing it all the way to the finish. Although it goes a bit deep there into the Alta chicane, and that cost him the best part of 4 attempts through the double apex. And I think both of these drivers are now starting to hit the limit of what they can do in the car, and therefore just having to try and keep it consistent all the way to the end. At different points in the lap, they gain or lose time in each other respectively. But from them, we look to Jesse Jamison Jr., also looking to go on the offensive versus Ethan Rolfe. This is for P6 in the AM class as they come down. New fastest lap of the race at 37.305 from Christian De Soto, who goes with 3 tenths faster than Edwin Offrare, your race leader. Personal best for Moraes, MP3, a further 10th off of De Soto's pace. So therefore, right now, our second place runner definitely trying to make some headway as Jamison Jr. tries to make sure he doesn't make headway into the gravel. And well, behind him, that is Justin Braggon, who's staying close as they're coming out. In fact, I should correct myself, we are looking at the battle for P26 between Jamison Jr. and Braggon, who's closing on him, not the battle between Jamison Jr. and Rolfe, which I said moments ago. And well, right now, Jamison Jr. with his position in hand, he won't lose any what will be AM positioning if Braggon does find his way through, but he will lose some points to his AM peers. And well, he's going to make a mistake. Braggon is going to follow him in that, gets hypnotised by the wayward Photan Clan car, and middle of the pack race driving in does get ahead, but both of them there giving themselves a bit of a sticky situation to get out of, and they just about make it out, and Justin Braggon finds his way into P26 through rather unconventional means. But as they head on down towards Ravazza, from them we do look back up to Jason Lynn, And this is Lynn being chased by Ethan Rolfe, and Rolfe on the attack here. And this is for P5 in the AM class. We can definitely confirm we've got our drivers right this time around, as they come down towards turn number 1, and as they do, well, it's going to be Rolfe looking around the outside, and he goes for it, an outside to inside move that has worked for so many today, and it's also going to work from Ethan Rolfe, who absolutely cruises past the Vice Motorsports. A nice move, and we'll now in towards that turns what is 5 and 6 he goes, going on through the left into right here of Villeneuve, and Ethan Rolfe. His next target is Alexander Frizzolone, but Frizzolone is 4.3 seconds up the road, a long way away, and it might be too far for today. But as we look to Edwin Offred, the privateer continuing to lead at this race, albeit by a gradually reduced margin of what is now 2.5 seconds. However, that margin, he knows he can play with it. He doesn't need to use it too aggressively or try to extend it any further. And, well, Christian De Soto is on a charge, albeit he's running out of laps here. Given the lap they're currently on, if my mental maths is correct, they've got 2 more laps after this one. And an Offred in control at this time and distance. Meanwhile, not in control. Oh, goodness me. And that is Jake Gertsen taking a very aggressive run over the apex curb there. The second part of Villeneuve hitting the sausages, and those bounce the car around at suspension. Car comes crashing back down to terra firma. And in fact, that was not Villeneuve. That was at Tamburello. Well, for Gertsen, I think they're trying to go around the outside of what would have been Jacob Wally, and in doing so goes too deep to the inside of the second part of Tamburello, and now he's got to find his hands versus Wesley Griffith. He's going to try to go around the outside of the Vice Motorsports driver, definitely gets a bit of a sore backside as a result of that one. And as they make their way onwards towards Piratella, well, 2 wide they'll come out of the corner, but Griffith will have the inside line which he can defend here as they head onto the brakes. But Gertz is going to go all for it, and in the end Griffith made to mount the curb, and well, Jake Gertz just simply says, no, whatever you can do, I've got the grip on the outside to get ahead of you. And well, lovely move there for Jake Gertz, and Griffith have been a little bit compliant but also doing the best he could in defending. Meanwhile, we look back to Christian De Soto, who has recently lost a lot of pace in trying to fight his way, I think, past some traffic. And well, the kind of fast racing team driver has now got Kaya Moraes right behind him, 6 tenths back, with only a lap or so to go in this race. I think they will squeeze in another one after this lap, depending on exactly when Edwin Offred started it. But it's going to come very close here. But De Soto right now, he's opened the gap back up to 8 tenths ahead of Moraes. But as we can see here, it is a situation for the 59 driver whereby the pace he was gaining on Edwin Offred, and Offred just at the top of your camera there as he disappears off screen. Well, it's all come to a halt, and I think De Soto's going to have to settle for P2, which is a racing driver you never want to do. You never want to settle for P2, and well, as the drivers continue to roar on, it now becomes one of those situations whereby just make what you can with what you've got, and will take what you can as well, because this race is coming to a close immediately. And well, from them we look to Mark Senegal, who's still trying to fight his way past Garrett Chavez as they look to contest P6 of the Prime class. And we'll Senegal, the attacker in the Sunday GT Turtles green machine, can't seem to find a way through this time around, albeit really trying to put the pressure on the exit of Villeneuve, not to be, as they come on in towards Tulsa. But from them, we do look back to your race leader with what is 15 seconds to go. Will he squeeze in a 25th lap as he comes on through the final kinks and curves? I think he will squeeze one more lap in, and Edwin Offred will, with 5 seconds to go, put us on to a 25th and final lap here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Dino Ferrari. And as he roars his way in towards turn number 2, coming in towards the Tamburello chicane, right now Offred knows all he's got to do is keep pointing in the right direction and keep it consistent for one more lap. As meanwhile, in that battle we saw between Mark Senegal and Garrett Chavez, Senegal has fallen away to 1.6 seconds off, a bit of an error since we last looked. I think that was at Piratella where he's gone slightly wide, and that's cost him the opportunity to go on the offensive. As meanwhile, in a late twist, Matt Best is into the pitch on the lead of the Prime class, and I think the second breakfast team did not account for what would have been that 25th and final lap. Or is this a drive-through penalty? We'll keep our eyes on it. It may be a drive-through for track limits right towards the end in terms of those 15 instant points, but Best loses the lead of the Prime class, and it means now now that Jacob Wally leads Pro-Am for the first time this season, and he's only got 1 lap to go, and I can confirm that for best, it was a drive-through penalty for picking up 15 or more instant points. So a late twist, and we said that could happen to 1 or 2 drivers over the course of this distance, but why did it have to happen to second breakfast's Matt Best? Or in the end, breakfast for dinner, the primary team of the breakfast influence teams, well, they're going to be the ones who are going to bring home the big bounty. But meanwhile, we look from our prime leader to our overall leader, and this circuit, of course, named after the father and son combination behind Ferrari. It's an all-red car that takes victory, but it's one piloted by Edwin Offering, the 99, who returns to the top step as your winner today at Imola. And what a drive as well, by 3.3 seconds in the end over Christian De Soto, who comes home P2 for Kind of Fast Racing Team. 9 that he could have chased down the lead, but it wasn't to be. And Kyle Morais completes your overall and pro podium, the privateer, in a brilliant debut in an MPRL series with a 3rd place ahead of James Logsdon, who comes home for P4 for Team Bear Pope in a solid drive, no doubt about it. Tanner Dibble will shortly come home P5 for DNA Motorsports, and it'll be your AM winner, Shaji Zuhair, who takes the first repeat win of the season in the AM class for ITD West JMT. And the Canadian driver is followed up by Jaden Calloway, who brings it home P7 ahead of Jordan Butler, with Jacob Wally, your pro AM winner there, P9 for breakfast for dinner. In the end, a little bit of fortune came his way, but that goes to show why he's defended so hard today, and it was an absolute lion's effort from the 131 driver from the US to bring home that prime win. David Addy, your top 10 completionist there, P10, ahead of Braden Mellin, runner-up in the AM class for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, and will, after moving into P2, never let it go. Tom Bryce, P12, ahead of Julian Jones. Congratulations to Tom Bryce for 2nd place of the prime class for ITT West JMT, and we can see they're getting nice and close to the back of Jacob Wiley and say, we weren't close enough to you today, my friend, but we're going to be chasing you every step of the way this season. Jake Gertston was 3rd place in the prime class, and your 3rd place finisher in the AM class, P22 overall, Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, Joseph Lamel. They make it a 2-3 on that podium behind Shaji Zuhair, and well, what a day, no doubt about it, for the team, in the fact they picked up some huge points in the Teams Championship and their drives in the AM class as well. And well, I believe that's all the drivers have finished the race, ladies and gentlemen. And as Edward Offred just gradually cruises around the circuit right now with limited fuel. It may be a coincidence that he's running red and black on that car today, but still at the same time, what a day of racing from him. For Christian De Soto, it wasn't quite to be a victory here, but it's coming for the number 59. There's no doubt about it, and the Kind of Fast Racing team enjoying another day of spectacular driving. Well, with many not having enough fuel to get to the pits, they've had to be towed to the pits, but they run these cars as close as possible to the limit in terms of fuel. And well, we're as close as possible to the limit in terms of time of the racing today. So let's take a look at those race results, subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries, and here they are. Edwin Offred, your winner for round 3 in the middle of the pack Racing League, falling into LMP3 Championship for 2024, as brought to you on iRacing and sponsored by our parody sponsor of the Dentistry World Conference Tour for 2024. The privateer taking victory by 3.2 seconds in the end over Christian De Soto for Kind of Fast Racing Team, and Kaya Morais completing your overall podium, and the pro podium with it, the privateer, a further 7 seconds behind. James Logsdon, P4 there for Team Bear Pope, ahead of DNA Motorsports' Tanner Dibble, who round off the top 5, and then your AM winner, Shaji Zuhair for ITT West JMT. And well, the question will begin to be, can anybody stop that man from Canada, because he seems to be absolutely driven and to finish not only as the winner of the AM class, home taking 2 out of 3 wins in the 2nd place when he didn't win at last time out at Motorland Aragon, but also he's had 3 out of 3 when it comes to top 10 finishes overall. Jaden Calloway, your 7th place finish there for IT West, ahead of DNA Motorsports' Jordan Butler. And well, an interesting run of form there. Jaden Calloway home started P30, finishing P7, 23 places gained, the most places gained by anybody today, and what a drive it must be said. And well, from those two, Jacob Wiley at P9, your pro am winner there for breakfast for dinner, ahead of David Addy, P10 for ITT West, with a late error added to a compiled and failed strategy in terms of the undercut, and in the end taking him from a top 5 finish to a P10 finish. Braden Menin run up in the AM class there for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Design, and a solid drive there to be best dressed P11. Tom Bryce P12 there, run up in the Pro-Am class for ITT West JMT, just ahead of pro teammate Julian Jones, and the team will be getting a great haul of points, no doubt about it. Then Jake Gertson, your third and final finisher on the Pro-Am class podium of Wally, Bryce and Gertson, with the Vice Motorsports driver fighting hard. He couldn't quite find a way past Jacob Wally today, but what he could do was bring home that third spot on the podium, and he'll be smiling at that. Wesley Griffith of Otan Clan, not too far behind, a further 2.7 seconds at drift, P15. Head of Garrett Chavez for Kind of Fast Racing Team, who today started off strong in the opening half of the race, particularly that first stint, but as we went deeper and deeper into the second stint, it looked so tyre wear started to go against the 159. Mark Senegal, P17 for Sunday GT Turtles, again another midfield performance in the Pro-Am class, but gradually finding his feet, and then Matt Best with that late come into the pits for that drive-through penalty, deprived of what could have been a win in the class, and well, an absolutely frustrating end to the day, no doubt about it, for second breakfast driver. Jermaine Warren, P19 for middle of the pack racing, and the further second behind John Lauzon for second breakfast, completing your top 20. And from the pro driver, it was the AM driver of Joseph Blomel, who in the end rounding off the AM podium of Zuhair Mellinghand himself, with a solid drive to P21 for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, and fending off along the way Alexander Frezelone, Vice Motorsports' Ethan Rolfe, and also Jason Lynn. Matthew Quinton, P25, the privateer, ahead of Jesse Jamison Jr. for Photan Clan. He was the last driver to finish on the lead lap. And then it was a lap down to the following drivers, including Carl Peterson for Caboose Crew. Also, we just saw ahead of him S. Edward Irving for Team Bearboat. So with Irving P27, Peterson P28. It was then P29 for Roger Ganesh for Sunday GT Turtles, and Eric Nickens P30 for Photan Clan. Then we did have also a lap down, Glenn Bratton, the privateer. 2 laps down to Aaron Tiggott for Team Bear Pope. 4 laps down for middle of the pack races Justin Braggan, and he will be your last classified finisher as he finished the race in 5 laps for the race winner. As then we did have the non-finishes for Nick Bader for the privateer outfit, Todd Miller for Caboose Crew, also Justin Delano, Jason Landry and Cole Ranieri. With Delano started this race but having to retire 13 laps in the end for Eclipse Racing Esports by Skyline Designs, and both Jason Landry and Cole Ranieri not making it onto the grid unfortunately due to technical issues with their machines. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our racing here today at the Imola circuit. A phenomenal 40 minutes of racing, no doubt about it. And, well, we saw some absolutely standout performances left, right and centre. But Edwin Offred, really the star of the show today, leading after a lot of pressure. And, well, after what was the opening 10 minutes, looking untouchable all the way to the finish. But with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you're sat there right now wanting to know a little bit more about the Middle of the Pack Racing League community in terms of how you could be a part of the community, or perhaps even be on the grid for a future series as we continue to look to run the series for the remainder of 2024 and onwards into 2025, well, if you want to find out more, if you want to be on the grid, why not check out our official Discord, invite link available on screen there, and you'll be hard-pressed to find a more friendly and welcoming sim racing community, not just based on the North American continent, even though the majority of our drives are based from there, but you'll also find that we do have many a member from the European continent, indeed further afield. If you're a little bit shy and perhaps you don't want to come to the Discord, well, you can of course follow us on social media, and the best place to do so is via our official Twitter at twitter.com/MOP Racing. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, attention now turns to round number 4 and the conclusion of the Stage 1 Cup. And to bring the curtain down the Stage 1 Cup and end the first half of the season, where better than the Circuit des 24 Hours du Mans in France, because in round number 4, we'll be unveiling our first feature race round of the season. 50 minutes of racing will lie in wait, and well, who will come away the victor in what is expected to be an absolutely scintillating send-off to the first half of the season. All the racing will take place and will be Wednesday the 25th of September, but join us as if it were live from circuit side on Saturday the 28th of September 2024 to see how we conclude the Stage 1 Cup. Until then, we've been the Middle of the Pack Racing League. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Briton a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. Until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.